Now brace yourselves for tougher times. That's the warning from Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia to Ghanaians, saying the current economic hardship many are experiencing could get worse before it gets better. Speaking at the official launch of the Accra Business School's IT programs on Thursday, he accused the John Mahama administration of being partly responsible for Ghana's economic woes and the decision to return to the International Monetary Fund. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
Deficits are rising, debt levels are increasing. This is happening globally. And
Dr. Bawumia's appearance at the event was highly anticipated by many, particularly in the wake of the government's decision to go to the IMF. It was his first public comment on the move to seek the support from the fund. This was his reaction to public criticism of government's U-turn after the then opposition NPP disapproved of the NDC-led government's decision to seek the support of the IMF in 2015.
If you ask a carpenter to roof your house, and he roofs this house, and suddenly the roof collapses, without any rainfall or wind, suddenly you have a collapsing of the roof. Will you not blame the carpenter who did the roofing? Will you not blame the carpenter? But if the carpenter roofs your house and the roof collapses because there's a tornado and a storm which has blown away roofs and windows and walls of many houses, will you blame the carpenter? Will you blame the carpenter?
The Vice President accused his predecessors of being partly responsible for Ghana's economic troubles and the decision to go to the fund.
Ghana has been hit with a quadruple whammy. A quadruple whammy. The energy sector excess capacity payments, banking sector cleanup, COVID-19, and the Russia-Ukraine war. We have been hit by this quadruple whammy. If you, and I say again that if you take out the fiscal impact of this quadruple whammy, Ghana will not be going to the IMF for support because our fiscal and debt and balance of payments outlook would be sustainable. Of the four factors, COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war were external, and the other two, the banking sector cleanup and the excess capacity payments, were the result of policies of the previous government.
He urged Ghanaians to brace themselves for tougher times, adding the current economic hardship many are experiencing could get worse before it gets better.
While we hope for a quick end to the war, we must understand that things could get worse before they get better. We have to steel ourselves for that because we just don't know when this war is going to end. The major lesson of the last 2 years is that we have to be more self-reliant. It is important that we take decisions that will inure to the benefit of the country, regardless of whether we are going to the IMF for a program or not. Regardless, we have to take the decisions that will help Ghana. The immediate task is to restore fiscal and debt sustainability. And these will be through revenue and expenditure measures and structural reforms. There's no way of going about that. We should also try and curtail non-concessional borrowing. That has to be curtailed.
Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, says he disagrees with the government. He says the government has lost credibility for blaming the John Mahama administration for Ghana's economic woes. Reacting to Vice President, Mr. Nketia said the Vice President, together with the economic management team, ought to resign by now for not fulfilling their promise to Ghanaians.
John Mahama didn't come back in 2020 or 2019 to do anything. You understand? So if after 6 years in office, you are still blaming predecessors, it means that you have no clue as to why you went into the elections to become a leader in the first place.
Were you expecting an apology from the Vice President to start off with?
Well, the person doesn't want to even admit where he's wrong. So you can't even proceed to be talking about apologies. You just leave him like a donkey who is crying that grass is blue. Because every Ghanaian knows that, he has lost credibility. And if we were in a well-functioning democracy, people like that should be leaving their offices.
You feel the vice president should be resigning by now?
Because the things he has said, politics or democracy is about trust in our leadership. So if you are running a system where you cannot even trust your leaders, they say this today, tomorrow they say a different thing. Then how are we expected to trust in the solutions that they are prescribing?
The feeling of some is
because
it's usual
you need
of
to accept. You need to accept the diagnosis, the causes of a disease before you take the medication. But if the person is talking about causes which are not actually the causes, it means that he will be prescribing the wrong medication for you. So that is why we have been saying that, look, the very set of economic managers who brought us into this mess cannot be relied upon to take us out of the mess. So before any IMF program or whatever can be swallowed by Ghanaians with all its hardship, Ghanaians must know that we have a new set of people whose word they can trust.
And you go to the extent of asking the vice president to resign. Some say this is usual of any other politician. You promise and you fail. This is just one of such.
When you say something is black and it turns out to be white too many times, you have lost credibility, and you help yourself by resigning from the economic management team. He shouldn't be there at all. You understand? So because we are in a certain mess, and we have been told that we are bringing the IMF to help us to implement certain austerity measures that will take us out of the mess. This austerity will involve hardship and others. So you need leaders who will be able to convince the population that, look, these are the right set of measures that will take us out of where we are. And those leaders must be trustworthy. The people must have trust in them. So if you are dealing with leaders in whom people have lost trust, the people will not accept it. And that is why you are seeing the turbulence you are seeing in the economy now, the labor front and the other thing, because the simple fact is that they can no longer trust in the word of government.
Johnson Asiedu-Nkete, I was speaking to my colleague Blessed Soga on Pulse on Thursday. Now, all public sector workers are expected to resume work today after they called off their strike last night. The industrial action was called off after the leadership of organized labor reached an agreement with the government to pay their cost of living allowance at 15% of their base pay. Samuel Mbura has more in this report.
They came to the table with a demand of 20% of cost of living allowance. This, the unions believed, will cushion them against the harsh economic conditions. Some of them had already laid down their tools in protest of government's failure to meet their demand. But after days of stalled negotiations with government and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, a 15% COLA has now been agreed by all parties to be paid to all public sector workers effective July 1, 2022. Here is Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Dr. Anthony Yaba, announcing the decision.
We are very, very pleased to announce that we have just agreed a COLA of 15%, and we now are going to ask all the workers who are on strike, especially in the education sector, to go back to work.
General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Thomas Musa, has since directed all teachers to return to the classroom.
So for and on behalf of all the teacher unions in the pre-tertiary education including the Ghana National Association of Teachers, the National Association of Graduate Teachers. We have the Teachers and Educational Workers Union. We have the Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana. We hereby direct and ask all our members and wish also to inform them that effective July 14th, today, 2022, in the year of our Lord, we have called off the strike that we embarked upon on the 4th of July.
Meanwhile, some labor unions who had given an ultimatum to strike over the COLA have now rescinded their decision. Bernard Ejay is the General Secretary of the Public Sector Workers Union.
We have not yet embarked on our action. Our action was set to begin on Tuesday, 19th of July. But once we've come to an agreement, we'll go back to our structures, and then once we find this acceptable, then we'll move on from there.
Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Ignatius Bafwewa, expressed gratitude to the labor unions for their cooperation.
But I also want to extend a hand of appreciation to organized labor. We began this with a spirit of cooperation, and we have ended with a spirit of cooperation. And one thing which was quite evident in all our discussions was that we all wanted to protect the integrity of our country. And I want to believe that we are going to achieve that by this feat that we have accomplished.
The negotiation from government side with the 22 labor unions included Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Educhum, Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, Finance Minister, Ken Oforiatta, with his deputy, Abena Osayasari, and Deputy Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Bright Rekubrobe. Information Minister, Kojo Pon, was also in attendance. Samuel Mbora, Joy News.
So let's take you across the country to get a feel of the impact of the calling off of the strike. But first, in the Upper West region, correspondent Rafiq Salam reports that at the one model primary A, there is no pupil in school, though some teachers are there.
Well, I'm the head of the school, and as directed by our union leader yesterday that we should call off the strike. That is why I came as a head. I've opened, you see that my office is opened. You know, I haven't entered my name in our attendance book. But as you can see, no child is on site. I don't know whether it was due to the late announcement for us to resume work. Maybe that might have also caused them maybe not to be able to come to school today. But hopefully we hope that maybe by Monday they might have heard that we've been asked to come back, so that they also come back so that academic work, classroom work will start.
So Rafiq Salam himself is live with us on Zoom. Rafiq, what more can you report from where you are?
I can report to you that I wouldn't say that it's still early yet because most of the schools that I have attended I have gone to have seen several teachers in those schools, but the people or the pupils are not nowhere to be found. And I can report to you that because they told me that due to what actually transpired yesterday, because they believe that the announcement came very late, and because of that, majority of them were not able to get the people informed to be at the bureau schools. And at the moment, I was also told that some teachers and also some of the pupils have also traveled, and that's the reason why we are having, these fewer number of teachers in the schools. But they pledge or they promise that come Monday, it will be in full swing.
What about other schools in the region?
The situation is still same. The last 30 minutes, another visit to the schools. Also, it's the same number of pupils, number of teachers. The teachers actually are in attendance, but what is really missing are the pupils. Those that they will be teaching, they are the ones missing.
All right, thank you. Let's move to the central region where Richard Kojo is joining us from Cape Coast. Richard, what can you report from there?
Same as what Rafiq Salam just put out, the teachers are present in the school, especially the basic schools, but the children are not in school because it is now that the information is trickling into them that the teachers have resumed their action. And so on Monday, hopefully, the teachers are hopeful that they would be welcoming their students back in the school. But for the senior high schools, we could see a number of the students that are there, especially even with the day schools. They heard the announcement very early, and so they decided to go to school. But for the boarders, they did not go home. They were in school and they were being fed, and so it doesn't really affected them that much. But for the basic schools, that is where the problem lies. The teachers are present in school, but the pupils are not there.
All right, let's take you to the northeast region where Eliasu Tanko is standing by for us. Eliasu, what can you also report from where you are?
Kojo, the situation.
Go ahead, Eliasu.
It's not so much different from what my visited, and I've already present in the schools there. Some of the pupils are also there, but the schools classrooms are still shut. The teachers tell me that the announcement came late, and because of that, the students, some of them are actually on campus, but they are dressing improper. The teachers are saying that they are hoping that by Monday the information would spread and they will start active classes on Monday. With regards to the senior high schools, yesterday I was at the Nalego Senior High School, which is facing a serious shortage of food. The headmaster would not speak to me. He directed me to speak to the regional, the municipal education director. But he said they had an emergency meeting with the education directorate, and they are hoping that something will be done. The student that I spoke to said they are finding it difficult with regards to feeding. And like I said, the headmaster will not allow you to speak to the students, but some of them that we spoke to said that they have not been given enough food. And so, yes, with regards to the basic schools, the students are there, the teachers are there, but there are no classes. But the senior high schools, which is facing food shortages, there's still no information because the authorities will not speak to us.
So in that regard, the food supplies were told have got into the schools. Haven't they received theirs? Haven't any of them received it?
Well, in the northeast region, like I said, the headmaster, especially the Nalego Senior High School, where I went, the Walewale Senior High School, in Walewale Senior High School, we know that during this particular time, the students themselves have to take up the work of the caterers, and so they move into the dining hall to cook the food for themselves, actually. But in the Nalego Senior High School, we understand that they have to beg the caterers to come in intermittently to cook for the children. And so I cannot confirm that they have received any supplies. Yesterday, I was in touch with the parents, the teachers, the parents association chairman for that particular school, and he said that the situation is very dire, especially in the Nalego Senior High School, and he is calling for the closure of senior high schools in the region because he thinks that if the situation persists, there could be some chaos in the school. The students could riot because they are not getting food to eat. And so I can tell you that for the Nalego Senior, the schools in senior high schools in the northeast region, there have been no information as to whether they have gotten food supplies or not. Interesting.
Let's take you to the Ashanti region where we have Benjamin Bright Kweku standing by on Zoom. Ben, how are schools responding to the call of the strike?
All right, so Kojo, here in Kumasi, in the Ashanti region, the schools, the teachers are in school at the moment. They've reported to school as given by the directive from the national organization. So the teachers have reported to school. However, the students, that is the students who are supposed to be in school, are not there at the moment. When I went there, I met empty desks, but the teachers are actually in school. The teachers are in school. They are hoping that these students would come. I engaged with one of the headmaster of the basic school, that's a State Experimental Basic 2 school here in Kumasi. And then he told me he had already made calls to the parents of these students. He told me that the parents have assured that on Monday they will be coming to school. However, because today is Friday, it's getting to the weekend, so most of them are not ready to come to school. So since beginning of this week, they've not been in school. They don't see the need to come at the last day of the week. So they are not in school at the moment, but hopefully on Monday they would report to school. And then when I went to, I met some of the students, the JHS students. So this one is just the primary students, those in the upper primary and lower primary who are not in school at the moment, but those in JHS3, those sitting for the BEC are actually on campus. I met a teacher in class who was teaching them, I think, French. So I met them. However, the students are telling me it's because, in 2020, these candidates who are sitting for the BEC, in 2020, there was a lockdown. So they couldn't go to school the entire year. So they are lagging behind in terms of academics. So they have to come to school. So they are afraid maybe their results might be affected during the BEC. So hopefully the teachers are covering up in the school.
Emmanuel Bright Kweku of Love FM joining us from Kumasi there. Now, a 46-year-old grandmother, Cynthia Latte, says she is too broke to be sick. Her NHIS card does not cover her doctor's prescribed medication, forcing her to default for some weeks. Pharmacies say the cost of common medicines have skyrocketed in the last 6 months. There is more in today's Living Standard series.
Sometimes when the patients come with a prescription, you take it and then you do your calculations and you yourself selling to them, you feel for them.
Yes, doctor, they say, and yes, oh my,
I have just returned yesterday from the bank to go and negotiate for some overdraft in order to satisfy my suppliers.
The 46-year-old Cynthia Latte has been baking for over a decade. Her business has recently suffered as a result of rising flour prices and her ill health. She says her doctor begged her not to get sick again because she couldn't afford prescribed medications.
The doctor says I can't fall sick because there is no money. Medications have become expensive. So if I become sick, I won't get anyone to take care of me.
Her concerned doctor is worried about what might happen if Cynthia, who can barely afford her medication, deteriorates further. Cynthia Latte's business has taken a hit, and she has 2 grandchildren to look after. Her children are also struggling to care for their children, so they have sent their children to live with their grandmother. Cynthia must care for herself, her grandchildren, and her hypertension and high cholesterol condition with little help.
There is no money in the system. My baking business is also not going well. The sickness started some 10 years ago. I went to the hospital and I was diagnosed. I don't know how I got it and was then put on medication.
Her medical bills are covered by the National Health Insurance Scheme. However, the scheme does not cover all of the medications she requires. She was unable to pay for her doctor's most recent prescription. She's back at the West Point Pharmacy in Kolebu with 50 cedis she received from a friend after failing to purchase a specific medication she required. Cynthia has come to buy a few tablets to support other medications she received from the scheme.
Okay. I'll buy a net, say. I buy a 50 Ghana and tomato. See, I see me don't match after 1 month. Okay.
I am here to buy cholesterol and BP drugs. The doctor prescribed drugs for 2 months, but I could only afford for 1 month. Even with that, the money was a gift from a friend.
Okay, in 2 months, I say.
And then it's kind of a really cool. We'll probably not doing a million better.
The West Point chemist serves 5,000 insurance holders monthly. It is arguably the cheapest pharmacy on the Kolebu stretch. But Supervisor Roberta Mensah tells me prices of drugs have risen sharply in the last 6 months. Commonly used medications like paracetamol, blood tonics and BP drugs have all gone up. With CDs doing badly, the price of imported drugs have shot up.
We have amlodipine, we have lisinopril, we have nifedipine. A brand like Nificard XL is nifedipine 30 milligram, yes. And the price was around 30 cedis. Yes, that was 2-3 months ago. But now the price is 38 cedis, 50 pesos. Paracetamol for children used is 5 Ghana cedis. The paracetamol going for 33 is Panadol. So when they come like this and then you take it together, some are taking it morning and evening for 30 days, they take it for long. So if you calculate and you see the difference on it, it's very high. Yes. Although we are managing, it's not easy. Sometimes when the patients come with a prescription, you take it and then you do your calculations and you yourself selling to them, you feel for them.
Her boss, pharmacist Archibald, has recently taken a bank loan to support his business. He says for the past 9 months, government has not paid the insurance claims, so it makes managing the business and paying workers difficult.
Some of the creditors are a little relaxed when it comes to collecting monies from us. They would listen to you, they know that whenever they pay you, you also quickly pay them, so they relax. And then they expect that you pay them as soon as you get your payment from them. Yeah. And when the payment is not coming, then you have to go to the...
Now, some residents of Sakaman have allegedly been evicted from their houses by land guards following warnings by landowners this morning. According to an eyewitness, warnings by the alleged owner for the affected residents to leave the land have proven futile. Let's head to the reporter on the ground, Michael Ashley, for more. Papani, you've been there. Tell us, what have you gathered so far? That's our reporter on the ground, Papani Ashley. He is at Sakaman now, where we understand more than 50 stores and houses have been crashed to the ground at Sakaman Blue Lagoon. Now, according to the residents, the landowners gave them up until August to leave. But on the dawn of July 15th, they were forcefully evicted and their properties destroyed. Why this, or really brought about this development, Michael Ashley is joining us from that area with all the details for you here on Joy News. Now, the news is that more than 50 stores and houses have been crashed at Sakaman Blue Lagoon. Per what our reporter is sending in, the resident told him that landowners gave them up until August to leave, but on the dawn of July 15, they were forcefully evicted. We are told that land guard did this to get them off. We are told that after warnings by the alleged owner for the affected residents to leave the land, the landowner has moved in with land guards to get them off the land this morning. We are told several properties have been destroyed. We'll get to that story later on. But the Awodome Senior High School in Tito, in the West District of the Volta region, is unable to provide enough beds for the student population. This had led to the majority of the students sleeping on their mattresses laid on the floor in both the girls' and boys' dormitory. The 1974 group of the Old Student Union of Awusko have donated some 30 pieces of metal bed to the school. Learning about the situation, there's more in this report.
Has a student population of over 2,000. The school, situated in the West District of the Volta region, does not have enough beds in the dorms. The majority of the boarding students lay their mattresses on the floor and sleep on them. This has been one of the challenges for the school, coupled with a bedbug invasion. The development prompted the 1974 group of the Old Student Union of Awusko to present some 30 pieces of 3-in-1 metal beds to salvage the situation.
And so, again in March this year, the idea was brought up again. And so we started thinking, how are we able to do this? Then, come April, 2 of our colleagues who are now domiciled in Australia came up with a Marshall Plan. And from that Marshall Plan, we called all hands on deck. And to God be the glory. Ideas and resources started flowing in. And eventually, what we see here today is a collaborative effort of all the 74-year group members. All I want to do this morning is to shout a hi to our other colleagues of the 1974-year group who left Awusko. That there is something interesting going on here. That Awusko needs our help so that this school will be the central of our lives.
The Awusko headmaster, Courage Meteku, though appreciated the gesture, said there is more to be done to ensure every single student has a bed to lay on.
We need more beds. If you visit our boys' hostel, apart from Dubai, that's an intervention block provided by the government, almost all my boys and more than half of my ladies are sleeping on the floor. So when I say this is a God-answered program, you understand me. For now, we are removing about 90 students from the floor. The school has been invaded with bed bags, and we have done 2 fumigation as a school. The last one we did was around the last week.
The 1993 OSUA also presented a modern set of brass band instruments and uniforms to the school's cadet corps. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Chito.
The Ministry of Education has expressed dissatisfaction with a study which showed that only 30% of female teachers participated in a pilot study on digitalization. The study conducted by Instill Education indicated that many female teachers were just not interested in the project. My colleague Mausi Nomo was at the launch of the report.
Pilot exercise, which targeted at least 5,000 teachers across the country, revealed low participation by female teachers. Speaking at the launch of the report, the Deputy Minister for Education in charge of TVET, Gifty Chum Ampofo, said women should be interested in ICT programs.
To be able to move forward in the face of all forms of crisis, we need to upgrade the teachers to be digitally upgraded, to ensure that once there is a teacher, once there is connectivity, once there are the students with a device, teaching and learning could take place. Whether there is war, whether there is flood, whatever. The only aspect of this research or this pilot program that I need to talk about, and I'm not too much enthused, is percentage of the teachers in areas of gender. We had 70% of these teachers who participated in this program being males and only 30 being women. Now what we're asking is, in areas of willing to serve, to learn, women usually have higher levels than men. But then the question, why are we having only 30% of women participating?
Female teachers have their own problems. She said,
the areas we need to look at and readjust is, after the women have closed from school, on the average, they have children to take care of. They have husbands to take care of. They have aged parents who are ill, some are weak to take care of. Per our culture and our tradition, no one says that women should do that. But we know it is our responsibility. If the men want to do it, they'll give money to women to support. So all these become some form of impediment to women participating in side issues like what we're talking about, the digitalization, the Instill platform.
The Deputy Minister has therefore urged researchers and organizers of such exercises to make entry requirements flexible.
Again, we also want to plead with the owners of these platforms and those programs to make the program more gender sensitive, such that the steps you need to go through to complete the program shouldn't be too cumbersome, so that few time the women could spend on the platform, they could achieve what they're supposed to achieve, instead of going through too many steps, whereas they have too many things to do after school. As Africans, that is what we are born to do, not only Africans, as women, because God created women to be more resilient, to be able to be multitask. So that is what we do as African women. But this notwithstanding, the system should be gender-friendly, not compromising on quality, but to make sure that the women could access.
Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of Instilled Education, conductors of the study, Alim Ladha, has assured his outfit will collaborate with the Education Ministry and other agencies to provide the necessary solutions to bridge the gap. Mausi Numos report for JoyNews.
So that's about women participation in digitalization. Let's see how things will go. But the MPP is to have an election to elect the next set of national executives. And the election will come off tomorrow, Saturday, 16th July, here in the capital, Accra. It will be held at the Accra Sports Stadium. We understand that already some of the delegates have started trooping in to ensure that they are ready for tomorrow. Now, JoyNews will be having a comprehensive coverage of this event for you the whole day of tomorrow till the last result is announced. This evening, we'll be having a special program on that here on the JoyNews channel with Evans Mensah and his team in the studio. Some of us will also be on the grounds at the sports stadium, this live from the grounds this evening till tomorrow. So be with us as we count down to see who will win various positions in the MPP come tomorrow. We'll take a quick break here. When we return, we'll bring you the latest in the world of business. Stay with us.
The German Development Corporation, together with its partners, has launched the Aya Institute for Finance and Management, an international training center. The German-Ghanaian Training Center is expected to contribute to the improvement of employees of the financial sector by offering training adapted to the local content while based on international standards. Now, speaking at the launch, Executive Director of the Institute, Abena Kesewa Brown, disclosed that her outfit seeks to train at least 1,500 people in the financial sector.
According to the United Nations Capital Development Fund, financial inclusion is positioned prominently as an enabler of other developmental goals in the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. In empowering Ghana to achieving these goals with the rest of the world, the German Development Corporation launched the Aya Institute for Finance and Management. Abena Kesewa Brown is Executive Director of the Institute.
Aya is actually an institute. The missing word is Training Institute. And basically what we want to do is to provide world-class learning experience to participants of the financial and management clients. We look forward to contributing to the increase in performance of teams who work for the financial industry. So currently, there are many organizations who support the financial industry, which is made up of banking, insurance, and others. And so therefore, what we want to make sure is to introduce world-class training or learning experience.
Head of Sustainable Economic Development at GIZ Ghana, Gerard Guskowski, explained the training model.
In Ghana, on behalf of the BMZ, GIZ is currently implementing 16 different developed projects, covering a huge variety of sectors, topics and activities, ranging from apparel to health and from automotive to the financial sector. We strongly believe that the financial sector plays a crucial role as a backbone of Ghana's socio-economic growth. For a truly healthy economic growth, well-functioning and locally present financial institutions are needed, which in turn work according to international standards and are networked accordingly. AYA, as a joint project under the GIZ implemented develop program, will come to an end at the end of this year.
The AYA Institute for Finance and Management is open to institutions and individuals in the financial sector. However, there are modules designed to train the average Ghanaian.
Let's go back to our first story, where prices of petroleum products are expected to witness some significant reduction from this weekend. This based on data secured from some bulk oil distributors on pricing of products for the next 2 weeks. Diesel should go down by more than 11% per litre. Petrol, on the other hand, should be reduced by almost 4%. LPG will be reduced by almost 10% per kilogram. Here's Duncan Amwa, who is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers.
We pick every indication that pump prices would decline or go down by some 5% between the two products, petrol and diesel. Diesel has gone down steeply. Petrol has done about 3% reduction. Diesel has done almost 11%. Unfortunately, there was the reintroduction of the rebates that government through the finance ministry did of 15 pesos. And so plus and minus, you are looking at doing about 5.3% effective second window, July. What that means in nominal terms, you are looking at between 50 to 70 scaling down on pump prices. We would make attempts to talk with them to hold on a bit, to see what the pumps throw at us. I'm sure their frustration is also stemming from, increases over the past few weeks, and we'll personally make efforts to at least get to them to see how they could hold on to observe a few more days what pump prices become.
And that's it for Business Now. We have more business in our subsequent bulletins and also on myjoyonline.com/business. Up next, the sports.